Yep, we're live, buddy.
All right, you'll be going on. We got 43 seconds left, gentlemen.
These things never stay in my ear.
All you need is the left one.
Yeah.
The one with the microphone will not work.
Okay. Oh yeah. There we go.
Jimmy, 20 seconds. Jimmy, I'm going to turn on the mics. We are now at 10 seconds. Mics are going up. Don't say anything.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Recovery Talk, Hope and Help for the Hurting. It is 10:30 on Thursday, and we're live again in the studio. You know, I've been thinking this morning, we've been doing this, it's close to a year now. I don't know, Mike Kelly, we started about a year ago. So this show is brought to you by Freedom Auto Tech. Freedom Auto Tech is a local shop here in town ready to give you professional service to your car, and you can know as a customer at the same time the profits from this shop go to support men in recovery through Freedom Farm Ministries. The number for Freedom Auto Tech is 828-355-4434. That's 828-355-4434. Give them a call if you need something done to your car, and know that you're helping out a good cause at the same time. Hey, this Saturday is the Recovery Awareness Walk, okay? Everybody that's been listening to the show past couple weeks, I've been trying to promote this as much as I can. I'm going to be there because obviously I support recovery here in High Country, and you can too. Just come out. $25 is your registration fee. Registration opens at 12:30. It's at the Clausen Burnley Park. It's at the Greenway across from the Armory behind the swim complex. You know, there's a giant complex being built over there, a recreation complex. Pretty cool seeing the changes here in Watauga County. But come and support the Recovery Awareness Walk. You don't have to walk far. You can walk as far as you want. The event will go till 3 o'clock. And all the profits will go to support, or the proceeds will go to support the Carries Home for Women, which is a small up-and-coming women's program here in the High Country. You know what? For as many men's programs there are, if there's 10 men's programs, there's one women's program. I mean, that's how much the disparity is between the two. But you know what? There's just as many women that have this issue that men do. So come out and support the Recovery Awareness Walk. If you have any more questions, call Addie Bobbitt, 386-717-0267. That's Addie Bobbitt at 386-717-0267. Come and show your support this Saturday. So, man, I have a special show today. It's special to me. You know, I'm the guy that comes here and does this show every week. And you know what? All my guests are special, but every time that anybody that has any kind of a journey in recovery, you know, you have people you've met along the way and have been, you know, significant memories and whatnot. And that's the person I have in here today. My friend Glen Taylor is here. Glen came all the way from basically the Greenville, South Carolina area just to do the show because he's actually on. He's basically on work release, or not work release, but you're out of work because you had an injury at work, right. and while you had some downtime, you're like, you know what, I've been watching the show, Jim, I'm going to come up, but just a little background in my journey, probably was it 9 years ago, Glenn? Yeah. About 9 years ago, maybe 10, I don't know, it's still foggy. I was still not in my right mind, but I was sent to a program. I went to a program down in South Florida, and it was a pretty rough place. Yeah. And Glenn's mother and my mother are friends, and because of that, I was going to a new place. 65 guys or so, a lot of guys that were trying to avoid prison time, so they're rough, pretty rough characters. Not really there for recovery, just there to try to get a lighter sentence.
Just have a good time.
Yep. So, you can imagine going into a place like that, not knowing anybody, it could be a hard time. And Glenn, kind of like ushered me in. He made sure he was my bunkmate. I was on top. I was on the top bunk. He was on the bottom, and Glenn had a illegal cell phone in there, and I used to eavesdrop his conversations when he would call people at night. So anyway, man, Glenn, thank you so much for coming and sharing your recovery journey with everybody. Well, let's just get right to it, my
All right.
friend.
Well, thank you for letting me be here today. I'm really excited about it, to be honest with you.
I'm excited having you on, man.
Well,
And
thank
you got to we actually hung out a little bit yesterday,
Yeah.
and you got to come see some of the guys at Freedom Farm, and you told me that was real encouraging to you, and I know those guys are encouraged to see you too.
Yeah, sometimes, you get in a low, and that was it's what I actually really needed. Because I've kind of been out of the program a little bit as far as meetings. I've moved from Florida to Carolina to take care of, to be with my parents. And I really haven't been taking care of my own eating issues. And so that gave me a nice lift.
And then add on an injury, and I don't know if you guys can't hear on the radio, but this Glenn is actually who they modeled Mr. Clean off of. If you've ever seen those commercials, but I think he's bigger than Mr. Clean, so I think he could beat Mr. Clean's butt, really. How many people say that to Patrick?
All the time,
All
every
the time,
Halloween.
yeah.
What are you gonna be Mr. Clean this year? Every Halloween.
Glenn is 6'4" for those of you that are listening, and I don't know how much you weigh, but
240,
240, and it's a muscular 240. So being crippled the way you are kind of right now, you had a forklift injury at work. I heard about it. I saw pictures that were, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, I had a little disagreement with a forklift.
Yeah. So you've been down how long now because you're injured?
I've been down since February the 13th.
So add that to new environment, and So yeah, I was glad you come up here and get some encouragement, my friend. So why don't you tell our listeners, you're talking to people that maybe have a loved one struggling with addiction, and they're losing hope. You're a guy that is obviously a beacon of hope because you're sober. You're clean and sober. Actually, in August, is that what you said? August,
Yeah,
you'll
August
have
12th.
4 years this time, but you've had a couple of stints of long-term sobriety in the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've gone 5 years, I've gone 5 months, I've gone 5 days and 5 minutes. you know. So I've struggled with it since I was 9 years old. And maybe a little background on the history.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, because I know people have different reasons why we got ourselves trapped into our addiction.
Yeah.
As I got older, there's no excuse that I can make other than, that's my desire to have. Mine was booze,
Yeah.
vodka especially. I never was a really big drug guy. Don't get me wrong. I've done plenty of drugs,
Right.
but drugs is something I've always been able to put down. Vodka and the booze, that's been a whole nother issue in my whole life. Even until today, I have to be very, very careful what, who I hang out with, what I smell, one taste on my lips, and I'm right back at that 9-year-old little boy. And mine started, unfortunately, I grew up as, my brother and I, we grew up with a single parent, my mother, God bless her. And she did the best she can. You're speaking about an adult woman that was trying to take care of 2 children and live a life. And, she had her own particular background issues, but that's her story.
Right.
Mine was that she actually trusted a babysitter, male, and who I was molested by. And during that time, at 9 years old, it really messed with me. So every time he came over, of course, I'm freaking out. And Mom doesn't know why I'm freaking out, or maybe not even realizing that I'm freaking out. Because even at 9 years old, my ego kicked in. I'm not telling nobody nothing. Because it was embarrassing, even at 9 years old. And at that time, the drink in power was whiskey sours. And a whiskey sour to me was like lemonade. And unknowing to my mother, when we'd have parties or dinner parties at the house and things like that, I was drinking those whiskey sours left and right. People were looking for their drinks, but I had already had it done.
9 years old.
9 years old, because I was masking the situation that happened to me. Being molested by an adult male.
It's terrible, man.
So finally, it got to the point where I remember the day, because unfortunately I still remember the smell, the situation, being locked into the bathroom. He basically was telling me that he was going to go after my brother. And so I had to do a little something to make sure that didn't happen. And I threatened him. I said, if you ever come back into this house again, I remember the day clearly, like it was right now. You ever come back in this house again, And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to tell everybody. Well, fortunately, he never showed up again. Why or how, he just never came back.
So
And
in
then-
essence, you protected your brother, your younger brother, from this horrible thing happening.
Yeah, my brother and myself, I just had enough of it. But due to that particular reason, Mom still had to go to work. My brother and I were left alone. Mom had to work, and so there was a lot of things that were going on. And unfortunately, about a year or two later, I got first time I ever tried marijuana. But I never really was the big weed guy. I liked the taste of those whiskey sours. They were delicious. And then as time goes on, Mom's still struggling with her own particular life and trying to make sure she's doing good, trying to raise two kids that are, were starting to get out of control. Well, especially me. My brother was kind of laid back.
Yeah.
And so about 13, I ended up getting raped by a family friend. And due to the fact of, because of my mental state, I just felt alone all the time. I just didn't feel as though I got enough attention. Being fatherless, I didn't have that father figure. So I was always looking for that male figure, but not being under good guidance of a good male role model. I always chose bad role models. It's just the way it was.
In fact, not only not having a good male role model, the probably the picture of males above you in authority is probably just completely shattered.
Right, and unfortunately, due to my mom, we had some bad role models in her life too. And she struggled with her own particular type of relationships, but unfortunately, I saw those particular dysfunctional, violent things that were happening to my mom, and so those are the things that I started seeing, and I indwelled them as I got older into my own issues and my own relationships, because that's how you treat a woman. Well, that's not even how you treat yourself, more or less a woman. So, unfortunately, I kept returning back to the abuser because at least I was getting some attention.
Yeah.
But that's, again, I want to be clear, that's where my mentality was.
Right.
It may not have been the reality, but it was my reality. And so, I got into, back when I was growing up, Quaaludes were a huge drug, and some people don't even know what they are anymore.
I just missed them, I think.
Yeah,
so.
well, you're lucky.
Yeah.
But then again, you had your own other issues that you had. So I basically stayed drunk all the time, and high all the time, especially during high school. Dropped out of high school, had my own issues, and never really furthered my education. And things just really got bad. And Mom and I didn't really have the relationship that we needed because of my own issues. So,
well, let's take a break right
Okay.
there because we got 30 seconds. We're going on break. A couple people say hi to your son's watching.
Hey.
And my mom and Malinka, but we've got a phone call. We'll get to the phone call after we come back from the commercial break.
WATA, good morning.
Don't worry. Hampton's Body Shop and Wrecker Service can help.
Yes, ma'am, what can I do for you?
Shop and Wrecker Service has a brand new 60-ton rotator wrecker that will handle anything that needs to be towed, pulled, or lifted. Have you ever been bent out of shape? Don't worry about
297
Hampton's Body Shop and Wrecker Service has the new
6569.
Reliant computerized frame machine that will pull and align your car.
It's St. Peter's and Paul's Orthodox Church, 707 Highway 105 bypass in Boone. Saturday 7 to 1.
That's what makes them who he is.
Yes, ma'am.
So my son's probably watching right now, huh?
Yeah, I'll join the party. Ma'am, I'm engineering a show, but give them a call and they'll help you
Go
out.
Big Pop. Is that your son?
Yeah.
Hi,
Thank you,
Aunt-
man.
Hi, Aunt
Bye-bye.
Sibby. They can hear us.
Yeah.
So, my wife's watching. My mom's watching. Mark's watching. Malinka's watching.
Nice.
So Mike, how do you know addresses and phone numbers right off the top
I've
of your
always
head?
been blessed to keep numbers in my head.
Wow.
That's way too much information for my head.
He's a savant, this guy.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I don't know, for some reason, I've always been lucky that way. Always been lucky that way.
Either that or he's just giving them totally wrong phone numbers, you know?
Right.
He
Oh
just
my
doesn't
God!
care.
Well, let's hope we didn't get somebody mad at us. Oh man, I'll tell you what. And soccer. Were they later the other night?
This is the Watauga County local sports guy. You want to know anything about sports going around this area? Mike's the guy. He
We
does
don't know
all the,
about that, but we hopefully know what that. We're trying to know what we're talking about.
you do all the high school games, right? You do the live. Well,
Yeah, we got a
live.
game tonight, and boy, it's been long nights, guys. I'll tell you what. Got to bed at 1:45 the other night, and got to bed last night at 12:30.
Yeah, I had a late one myself.
Probably doesn't help you live an hour away from here. So,
Oh, I've been used to it, Jimmy. 23 years,
yeah.
and how much longer? I don't know. We'll go as long as we can. I mean, I'm in no hurry to retire. I like what I do. Let me reiterate, I love what I do. And I enjoy it. I really do. I love people and I love doing it. And
So
like I said, I think God always plays a hand.
when that flashes, that means when you have times coming up.
That means someone was calling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when he's doing the numbers like this, when he did this, that means 1
Yeah,
minute.
that's a minute left. And
And
that way it
30
gives Jimmy
seconds.
an idea that if he's got to go in the commercial, he's not caught like, oh God, we got to go. You know, it gives him an opportunity like what he did. Okay, you're telling your story. We don't want to abruptly cut you off. And it gives you a chance to kind of digress into taking a break and
Yeah.
recollecting your thoughts. Jimmy, you're a minute to go as soon as this spot starts. Now, we're inside a minute.
Your son says your hair looks great.
Thanks, brother. I had it done this morning.
I remember they had a
But
professional,
this
they had a
high
professional
mountain,
wrestler named Mr. Clean.
this high mountain weather has screwed up my hair this morning.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. All right, Jimmy, we're at 40 seconds, buddy.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember Mr. Clean, and that guy was built like you, but he was even bigger, and he was, and he was dressed white. He had the earring, and he was a professional wrestler. We used to watch that as kids.
I'm a huge wrestling fan. I don't remember that one.
That was in Chicago. This is before it went national.
Oh, okay.
With Vince McMahon, who basically took what was his father's creation, the Eastern Wrestling Alliance, and made it the WWE. Here we go, Jimmy. 2.
Welcome back to Recovery Talk, the show that tries to bring hope and help for hurting people. We do it live here every Thursday, and we also stream it Facebook Live. So thanks for joining us, whatever outlet that you got the show on. But if you're listening and you want to hear it later, you can always go to our Facebook page. We have all the episodes, all the past episodes for almost a year now, all recorded and posted up on our Facebook page, Recovery Talk. The show's brought to you by Freedom Auto Tech, which is a shop here in town that has a dual purpose. One, to give you professional service on your vehicle. But at the same time, the profits and proceeds go to supporting men in recovery through Freedom Farm Ministries. So if you got a problem with your car, bring it over there and know that you can get a good work done to your car and support a good cause at the same time. 828-355-4434. That's 828-355-4434. Give them a call, give them a schedule. They're ready to fix your car for you. Look, this Saturday, 12:30, registration opens for the Recovery Awareness Walk. You know what? Be out there to show your support. We really need it. So 12:30, the event goes till 3. There'll be a speaker. There'll be music. There'll be booths there set up. People explaining what's going on in different avenues, different programs. And this event goes to support a women's program here called Carries Home. Carries Home is a transitional program for women here in the High Country, and they want to expand. They need funds. So $25 gets you a T-shirt, and you can walk as little or as much as you want, and know that you're helping support recovery here in the High Country. If you have any questions, 386-717-0267. That's Addie Bobbitt, 386-717-0267. Glenn, let's just get back into it,
Okay.
man. I mean, I'm kind of like glued to your story. I want to hear more.
All
So
right, good. So, like I was saying, at 13, I got raped, and then I was returning to my attacker because it was some type of feeling that I was getting, and unfortunately, I don't really know if there was a lot of people paying attention. I know that my mom knew that there was something going on with me, but I refused to tell anyone what was going on because, I don't know. Am I straight? Am I gay? Am I this? Am I that? I was totally confused 13-year-old kid. And
which is what abuse does to children.
Yeah. And so I never dealt with it. I mean, I really closed it up. It was a wall. It was just something I refused to discuss. So the cycle just continued for so many years. And even my mom has said, I didn't even know this was going on because, I'm a walking liar, I'm a professional addict, and I was somewhat good at it for a certain amount of time.
To have any kind of addiction career, you have to be great at it.
Yeah.
So
here goes through high school, never finished the high school, and then here I am, 21 years old, ended up getting married, 2 children, but I never dealt with issues, and I'm still just partying my butt off. And back in the 70s and the 80s, had such great access to the best cocaine. I lived in Miami, so it was very accessible to me.
heck yeah.
I
It's
spent
the cocaine
paychecks,
cowboy era.
couldn't pay rent on time. My mom gave me this beautiful little condo that she owned. I couldn't even pay her $220 a month or pay bills, or I couldn't even get the carpet cleaned because we're partying our butt off. The dealer is our best friend, and I'm making all these excuses and lies to my mom, but I was totally addicted. And that was the time when I just really wasn't drinking a lot of beer, I think. A lot of mushrooms, mushroom juice, a lot of acid at the time, THC, just a lot of different crazy things were going on back in those late 70s, early 80s.
Was your wife involved in it with you?
Oh yeah. We were Bonnie and Clyde.
Okay.
There was no doubt about that. And unfortunately, my behavior as far as my anger issues never was resolved. And because what I had unfortunately learned and seen in the past, I shared with the wife, and it became very abusive. I have to admit, I have remorse over it, but I can't live in my regrets anymore. I can only learn from them.
Right.
Unfortunately, she had to deal with me, and so that's just how it went. And then my drinking took over, my partying, and I was hanging out in certain bars and dancing clubs. You know what I'm talking about, the pole dancers.
Yeah, right.
Places such as this. And it just.
I think we call those gentlemen's clubs.
Yeah, there was no gentleman about it.
Yeah.
There was no gentleman.
It's always been weird.
At least not in the ones that I were in. I didn't see any gentlemen.
No.
Just the cycle was just so crazy. And then I was remarried again about 10 years later. And
so would you think like 31-ish you got remarried, or?
I think it was in my 40s maybe.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe 30.
When did you have kids? How old were you?
Well, my first batch of children, my first 2 daughters, I should be more clear. I was 21 with my first daughter, and then about 22, 23 for my second daughter.
Right.
And then my second wife and I got married, and I was blessed with my son.
Who's currently watching the show on
Who's
Facebook?
currently
right?
watching the
and
show.
making fun of your hair.
Probably, yeah. He likes to do that.
For those of you who can't see, Glenn
Yeah.
is doesn't have hair.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Quit being mean, Jim.
Yeah. So, and between her and I, we met while I was a drunk, and my partying ways never stopped. And again, we were living in an area in Florida, in Tampa, and back then in the mid-90s, that cocaine was crazy. Got right back into it again. The drinking was even intensified. But I did settle down for about 5 years because I had a job which became a county, which turned into a government job because of 9/11. And I was pretty clean for about 5 years, and I was really into went to church, started working for a ministry, and then I got severely hurt on the job, and they told me I was going to spend my next 14, because I was a field officer, and I was going to spend the next 14 years behind a desk because of the particular injury.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, heck no. So I retired, and we ended up moving out to Arizona, and that's where it really took over.
So I mean, it's fair to say that you went into this good in quotation marks, like kind of like a, you were working, you liked your job, you're being responsible, going to church, but the one thing is you haven't really ever dealt with any of this stuff.
Never dealt with it.
It's all, so you think you've snuffed it out because you're just not talking about it.
Yep.
But you can't stop thinking about it, I'm sure.
No, not at all. You think you're just a casual drinker, but then you have these binges that you go through. But you got this job that's responsible that I love.
It's kind of keeping you curbed in a little bit.
Yeah, it was keeping me curbed in, and but slowly, piece by piece, I was losing not only myself but my family, my wife, and everything that I wanted in my life. That in my imaginary, that I thought I wanted.
Right.
But I just never dealt with issues that should have been taken care of.
Yeah.
And when I moved out to Arizona, within a year's time, I had 3 DUIs. The third one was an extreme, and 6 counts of battery on law enforcement officers, because they pulled me over because I was swerving slightly. And that put me into the Arizona State Correctional Center for 5 months, which I was looking at 2 years. But because of my past history with the government, the judge, fortunately, was very lenient on me, and I only got 5 months. But, as I was in there, I was doing rehabilitation classes. And, of course, when we're there, we're going to be this perfect person before we get out, and we're going to start helping people. Well, that's me. 2 weeks later, as soon as I got out, I was back drinking again.
All right, so we're coming up to another break here, but we are in Arizona, and you've spent 4 or 5 months in jail because of
prison
for your third DUI, with all the aspirations to come out and be a new man, and within 2 weeks of getting out of prison, you're back to it. So stay with us. We'll pick the story up when we get back. It's going great, man. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is top of, so we have.
See, I've never heard that before, and thank you for that comment you made. That you can't, you have your regrets, but you can't live with them. You gotta learn from them.
I gotta learn from them, and I'm still learning from them.
You know what? I never heard that before, and that's a great word of advice.
My problem, my biggest thing is that I want to have a pity party with Glen, and so I want to live on my regrets. And if I keep dwelling on my regrets, I keep myself in that dark, depression. Because I am a depression. I can be very, very depressed, and I can live in that depression.
It's kind of like Dr. Stanley said one time. He said, "You may find this hard to believe, but it's the truth when I tell you this. Whatever you've done, God has forgiven, whether you want to believe it or not. And if you don't believe it, you're making God into a liar. Because what did his son die on the cross for then?" And I know what he was trying to say. But man, when you think back and you say, my God, was I that ugly of a person?
Of course we were.
I mean, when I was a kid, the littlest things. It wouldn't, as big as you are and as strong as you are, 20, 30 years ago, if you'd have ticked me off, I'd have attacked you. I wouldn't have cared.
Oh, I know that.
And I'd have came at you with anything.
Oh, and that's happened to me before.
I stabbed the dude with a ballpoint pen. Those big
You
things?
did?
Yeah, we got into it. We were in the 7th grade. He ticked me off. And I took it, and I took it, and I took it, and we were going home. And we got into it because he wanted to make a deal out of it. And see, to show you, whenever you get 3 guys or 4 guys on you, the one guy acts up. It's like my dad said, you stand up to him, the other 2 or 3 are going to chicken shit out. They're not going to do anything. We got into it, and he was trying to tackle me, And I always keep a pen, and it's still by habit. But it had no cap. In those days, I kept it open. I just pulled it, bam, and I mean, caught him right here. He went up, bam, right across the head. That pen broke. He was bleeding like you wouldn't believe. And all of a sudden, it caught me.
I don't want to be around him with pins in his
I
hand.
mean, then it caught me, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, I got scared. I thought, oh my God, I think I must have killed this kid. But that's what I'm saying. It was the anger. It was so much anger. It wouldn't take me anything to get ticked off.
So for me, I'll speak for myself, and I try and do that all the time. When you are a complete alcoholic that I am, it doesn't matter whether you believe in God or not. It doesn't matter whether you believe that He's forgiven you or not. You just cannot forgive yourself, regardless of how many people are trying to help you.
Oh yeah, because you get, see, the thing is, it's the embarrassment, it's the shame, it's looking at yourself and saying, it's like looking in a mirror, and all of a sudden you look back and you say, my God, was I that ugly of a person? I mean, that's like Jimmy. I can't believe Jim Quigley was the way he was. You talking the way I can't believe you were that way. But you know what? No, it's the truth.
Oh, I know, but it's
the truth, because what it is, we all make mistakes. I remember Al Pazarakis. If Al was still alive today, it's a miracle. He was the kid was so strong, and when he drank, he just became a completely different person. I remember he got into it. He beat up 2 cops. He nearly tore a paddy wagon door off.
Wow.
That's how, I mean, it took like 7, 8 cops to finally
that's
settle
what happened
him
with
down.
me. It was 6 police officers. One tried to tase me. I fortunately caught it, threw it back at him. He ended up getting tased, and the other police officer came up behind me and cheated and got me behind my back. I always call it cheated. I like to have fun with myself, and got me. But that was the only reason they took me down. Now, if it would have went any further, I'm pretty sure they would have shot me.
Yeah.
I was that aggressive because I knew I was going down.
And see, I really wonder what happened with the situation with that deputy and that guy. I really wonder, because I'll tell you one thing that I've noticed with a lot of cops, and this is why, see, my minor was criminology, and what really turned me off was guys that were cops were taking those classes, and the attitude they had toward people. And I was like, dude, that badge is representing the law. You're representing the law.
Yeah.
You can't abuse it. I could still remember one of those cops. 3 years later, I went to a Dunkin' Donuts. It was a homeless guy. He was strong. And he was with the Berwyn police. He beat the guy up. And he's laughing about it. He was a bigger dude than you. And I'm looking at him. He was a little guy like me, and he's beating the tar out of his guy.
I've worked with cops like that.
And I've looked at him, and I'm like, what are you doing? You're a policeman. This is what you're showing me, that our police are that way? Get ready, Jimmy. Here we go. Hot mics are going hot. Here we go.
Welcome back to Recovery Talk. Thanks for sticking with us. We've had a great show today so far with our friend Glen Taylor. This show is brought to you by Freedom Auto Tech, which is a local auto shop here in town that serves a dual purpose to give you good work on your car, at the same time support a ministry for men in recovery. So if you got a problem with your car, it's kind of a no-brainer. You get your car fixed and you go to support a good cause at the same time. If you got issues, give them a call, 828-355-4434. 828-355-4434. They'll get you on the schedule today. Hey, Saturday is the Recovery Awareness Walk here at the Greenway, Closely Burnley Park. The registration opens up at 12:30. The event will go till 3. $25 registration. You get a t-shirt. Walk as little or as much as you want, but come out and show your support for recovery. All the proceeds from this event will go to support Carries Home for Women, which is a small women's recovery program here that wants to expand. So they need all the assistance they can get. Addie Bobbitt's the one to call if you got questions, 386-717-0267. That's 386-717-0267. Come out and show your support at the Recovery Awareness Walk. All right, my friend. So you're 2 weeks out of prison, right back. All the hopes, aspirations to be a different person, and it doesn't go as planned.
Right.
Right.
And there's a couple things, like some people out there might be saying, there are the people that are listening, oh, you only did 5 months. 5 months is 5 months.
Yeah, sure.
If you've been in prison, you've been in prison.
Right.
And it's a blemish on your life. And I just wanted to bring up one thing. There's certain things and points that you think, hey, that was just said to you. Should you consider stopping? And one of the things when I was in prison, my wife at the time and my son come to visit me. Now my son's about 6 years old, and here we are in between the glass, the visiting station, and he's looking at me. And you got to talk on the phone. And so the wife and I are having a discussion. We're saying our goodbyes. My wife gives my son the phone to say goodbye to me. And the thing that I remember the most is my son looking at me in my eyes with the love that he has for his father and saying, and this is what he said, was his goodbye. Dad, 6 years old, are you ever going to learn your lesson? I love you. And
the wisdom of a 6-year-old.
They turned around, walked away. I couldn't move from the glass because I was tearing. I was like, no way I can go back to my cell with these tears in my eyes.
Right.
So anyway, I just needed to share that because, you'd think that would have an effect on my life. Well, it did at the time. But, of course, take my advice. I'm not using it, I got to go back out 2 weeks later and just be stupid again. So I ended up I was on probation and hiding from my probation officer because I won't see anybody be drinking. But they granted me, the state of Arizona granted me a interstate transfer back to my home state, Florida, which I moved back in with my mom, which I really didn't want to do because I mentally was not prepared to do that.
Right.
But I was running out of options because I have to lose everything,
Right.
And when I get back to Florida sends me this renewal thing in the mail with my license to renew my Florida state license. Well, my paperwork hasn't caught up from Arizona yet to DMV.
Right.
So I renewed my license. I sent in the $16 check. 2 weeks later, brand new license. I'm a legal driver. I still have my contacts with the agency I used to work for, and to make sure that it was legal. And of course, yeah, you're legal. You go drive.
With 3 DUIs on your record.
And my dad, the gracious person that he is, goes out and buys me a car because that's the love that he had for me.
Yeah.
What does his son do? Probably about a month later, driving down the road, bottle of vodka in the car, front headlight was out, sheriff officer pulls me over, arrested again. 4th DUI.
4th DUI.
And now I'm fighting 2 probation officers. Neither one of them know each other because I didn't tell each other, so I'm struggling with that.
Right.
Ended up getting out of cleaned out probation for Florida, cleaned out probation for Arizona. Still haven't learned my lesson. And it's just been a continuous battle. And then that's when you and I met. I went to DAF, got in there, was going to be this great guy, I was going to do this and I was going to do that, and that didn't work.
I mean, you were voted as the president of the Misfits,
Yeah.
and I mean, they literally, yeah. I mean, seriously. I mean, this place was full of misfits, and it was run. Who was the famous tennis player that was? Chris Everett.
Chris Everett. Yeah.
Chris Everett, the famous tennis player. This was like her deal.
Yeah, she had her name on the building.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And,
I did not know that, guys.
Yeah, it was kind of like
She
state
sponsored all
run.
the money.
I did not. I never knew that she had done that.
And they could hold like 60 guys on the guy's side, and probably about the same amount on the women's side.
Yeah,
and,
but the problem with that place is that you had people that were just the intake on one side, and the halfway house was connected right next door. So anybody that was in the halfway house was going to work. But not only were they going to work, they were picking up the booze and the drugs to come back for the people that were in intake.
Yeah.
And we had a good time. I don't even know how I stayed sober in that place. I mean, I will be honest with you. I stayed sober. How I did it, I don't know, because there was so much
God
booze
was
in there.
with you, buddy.
Oh man!
And what they do there is they elected a president of the group, and you were elected president.
Yeah.
You were El Presidente when I got in there.
That's the funny part. So then, that kind of went awry, and then when I got out of there, it never corrected itself. And then I started getting into bodybuilding and working out, and then I got addicted to steroids, and that's where my ego took out. But I stayed clean for 5 years while I was on them, and then I was in a relationship, and she passed away because of leukemia, and it was a couple months later, and that's where the bottom fell out. I mean, it fell out the worst than it ever has been. You think you've been down in the basement? Well, trust me, you think you're down in the hole? Trust me, there's a basement in that hole.
Yeah.
And until somebody shows you how to build the stairs to get out of there, that's where you stay. And if you think you're down in the hole, trust me, it goes further than that. It really does. Well, at least for me.
So just for timeline, so like you and I met in Delray at the program, and then you got out of there, and did you got married to the girl?
No.
Just as someone that
we were going to be married.
You were going to be married, but you stayed clean and sober for like 5 years.
Yeah,
and
about 4 years to be fair.
Then unfortunately, she ended up because of leukemia getting sick and passing, and then it just set it off again.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So I stayed clean for about 2 months because I had a contest to do, and right after, so 2 months she died, and then 2 months later I did the contest, and then the next day I was down at the liquor store buying a bottle, and for 3 months, 2 to 3 months, because that's a little foggy in timeline, I would get up at 9:45. I'd make sure I was out of the house at 9:45 in the morning, at the liquor store by 10, getting my big bottle of vodka, and then I had to make sure that I was back there by 5 because I needed enough booze, even though there was still booze in my vodka in my bottle. I needed the bottle to survive the evening, and that went on.
It went long enough. We talked a little bit about this yesterday.
Yeah.
It went on long enough where you told you used to brag that you would never drink anything less than Smirnoff,
Yep.
right?
I would never drink anything less than Smirnoff.
And then it went long enough to where you were down to pop off or whatever, right?
I was down to that $9 1.75 liter thing of vodka.
Yeah, anybody listening, we kind of joke about it. It's not funny, but we kind of have to laugh it off because I had a problem with alcohol just as much as I did drugs. But when you're just drinking vodka to that degree where it's all day around the clock, your days are going in. You're at the worst stage of alcoholism you could possibly be.
Yeah, I was in a place that so it came down to
you actually, the choice has been taken away to not drink. You have to.
I was in the worst relationship that I have ever been in. And I've been in some bad relationships, but this was the most jealous relationship I have ever been in because I call her she would not allow anyone in my home. She would not allow anyone around me. She kept telling me, keep feeding me, keep giving me money. I'll take care of you. I'll take care. She was a liar. The liar was named Vodka.
Yeah.
I call her. That was my relationship. So it came down to a point where at towards the end of the bottom, I had made a phone call with this pastor the church I used to go to because I was doing a Celebrate Recovery program while I was dating this relationship that she the one I was telling you about that passed, and I had made a contact with the pastor of the church. I don't even remember doing it, and
this church, by the way, side note, we talked about this last night. Like after that program you and I were in together, we ran into each other in the parking lot of this church, but like. I didn't cross the parking lot, come over and say hi to you. I was going into a recovery meeting, but I was not doing well then, and I didn't want to come up to you. But that was like the last memory I had of seeing you after that program we were in together. I had all kinds of mess, but I was like trying to keep up a good recovery facade, so I was going to this meeting. I think it was at night. And it was like a late night meeting.
Yeah, it was a night meeting. Yep.
And so like just people. Yeah, it was just. I remember that church you were going to.
Yeah, that was clean then. You
even invited me. Like you should come over and check this out. And I was like, yeah, maybe I will.
I was highly involved with that program for a while. It's what kept me clean. Mm-hmm. And but the bad, the highlight of the whole thing is that I'm sitting in my apartment by myself. I had a 8-inch blade on one hand in my neck and a bottle of vodka in the other. And as I was drinking, I was pushing. I was drinking and I was pushing because I was too scared just to do it. I just wanted to end my life. And at that point, the pastor of the church busted in, and like a soccer player that just made a field goal, a goal, he comes sliding across my tile floor and begged me, please don't do what you're getting ready to do. And if he had not walked through that door, I wouldn't be sitting here sharing my story with you or anyone else.
And that was the catalyst. I think it all started to change from there.
It
And
did.
we're at a break right now, but when we come back, Glenn's going to finish out his story and tell us what happened and what life's like now.
All right, thanks.
Stick with us. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Almost lost it.
You're doing great, man. And
Thank God for that minister.
Yeah.
Thank God for that minister that he was there for you because he saw. It's like Charles Stanley said, there are certain people that you never expect to help you because they see something that you don't.
Yep.
And God pushes them towards you, and they're trying to help you.
And like I said, I do not even remember contacting him, but
Yeah, you were living in a fog.
he
It's
told
totally
me
understandable.
he told me I had texted him, and I'm like, or called him, and I'm like, I don't.
Yeah, we had a girl that went through that here.
Yeah.
She's been knock on. She just had a baby, and knock on wood. She's living in the Greensboro area, and she's really cleaned up her life. And when she finally hit rock bottom, without even realizing it, she contacted Robin, and Robin got on top of it right away. Called some friends. They went over.
Awesome.
And they helped her out. Or believe you me, she would not have made it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, she was just dehydrated and was living off vodka.
Ugh.
And vodka is the alcohol to get away with because there's no scent to it.
Well, as much as I was drinking, there was.
Yeah.
And still, yeah, it was bad. I mean,
Well,
even
it's just part of life, my
even when
friend.
the pastor picked me up, took me to church, I was telling you, I snuck vodka with me. And I know the pastor knew I had it, but I also knew that if he knew I didn't have it, I would have probably died from a heart attack. That's how much booze was in me.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when you bring in your alcohol, especially if you're in the halfway houses,
Yeah.
these guys come in with the shakes and they go,
Oh, yeah.
if you don't give them something, they're going to die on your couch, you know, and that's, and until you can get them medicated properly and get them down.
Here we go, Jimmy.
Yeah, we can't take them
Here we
unless
go.
they go to detox. Welcome back. We're here to finish out Glen Taylor's story, but before, just give a quick mention of Freedom Monotech, the show's sponsor. 828-355-4434. That's 828-355-4434. If you need to get your car fixed, go ahead and give them a call because you can know as a customer you'll get your car fixed right, but you'll also be helping support men in recovery through Freedom Farm Ministries. 828-355-4434. And don't forget about the Recovery Awareness Walk this Saturday. Registration opens at 12:30 at the Greenway, Clawson Burnley Park, across from the Armory. And $25, you can get a T-shirt. Come and show your support by walking as little or as much as you'd like. The event will go till 3. Give Addie Bobbitt a call if you have any questions. 386-717-0267. That's 386-717-0267. Come and show your support for women's recovery. The proceeds from the event will go to support Carries Home for Women, which is trying to expand their program to be able to have more women there as guests. All right, Glenn. So we went to break. You were basically wanting to slowly commit suicide.
Mm-hmm.
A pastor comes to the rescue.
Mm-hmm.
What happened next, my friend?
Okay, after that, we'll try and keep it fast and short. He brought me back to the church for the night, and I was still a mess because I snuck some vodka back with me to the church, and I stayed drunk all night until he took me to his niece at the time was working in a program, but they refused to take me because I was a mess. And I really was so confused. I didn't know what day it was. I barely could. I looked at her. I said, Steffi, what do I do? You have to make a decision for me. She goes, do you want help? And I was like, yes. So they Baker acted me. And from there, they put me in a mental facility down in Del Rey. And they actually, the first day I was there, I was strapped down to the gurney. I was a mess.
Yeah.
I was a crazy man. And I was there for about 7 days.
Baker acting, for those who don't know, is like the family can sign paperwork saying that you're going to be a harm to yourself or others, and then they will involuntarily commit you for up to 72 hours. Yeah. And you know what? Praise God for that thing, because a lot of times people that are out of their mind will go to a place like you did, and even though maybe you don't have necessarily a mental crisis as far as what they're usually those types of places for, they'll be able to detox you well, you know. So
yeah, but the detox wasn't my answer,
right?
Because I was going to go right back up. But anyway, so I was very fortunate. I was in there for 7 days. I really didn't know what I was going to do, But my church that I was involved with, my pastor and his niece, got me sponsored into this program in Palm Beach, and I was there for 45 days. And then after that, where was I going to go? They placed me into a halfway house that was very strict, very clean, but compassionate. And that was in an area in Florida called Lake Worth, which is like not a place you want to be for recovery. Even though there's tons of recovery programs down there, none of them were good.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say that. That's not fair. The majority of them were scams. So,
which is a big problem in South Florida. We're
Yeah.
getting, I post on all the time on
Yeah.
social media the stuff that comes out of there. And again, it's not fair to blanket, generalize, but there's a lot of, it's the recovery capital of the world. There's more rehabs and halfway houses per square mile than anywhere else in the country, in the world, actually, in the world. So.
And so I went down there, and I don't know how I did it, because on every corner was a liquor store. Every block there was 3 bars. But I was able to stay clean. My greatest savior is I went to a meeting down there when I was in the halfway house and found a sponsor. He was about 6'8". He looked like Hulk Hogan. He talked like Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
And I sat at the meeting at the end, and I had been watching him for a few weeks, and I knew that I understood his language, and something clicked. And basically, I wanted it. I needed something, because I'm not doing nothing right. My advice is not working.
Right.
And I looked at him at the end, and he's looking at me. He told me at the end, he says, I thought maybe you were somebody's husband that I was with his wife or something. You were scaring me. And here's a guy 6'9", and I'm scaring him.
Right.
And I went up to him and I said, you're going to be my sponsor. I am. I don't need any sponsees. I don't care. You're my sponsor. And that's how our relationship started. And I've been with him. That's almost 4 years now. Important
to say something, because people ask me this all the time, and I don't know if I ever shared this with you. You may have heard me say it on the radio before. Excuse me. But people ask me, how can you? What is like one of the keys to get people sober? And I was like, if it's possible to teach people humility or to affect them to make them humble, more people get sober. But you just can't. People have to get humble. And the word you just said, you said, you know what? My advice wasn't working anymore.
Right.
You finally got to a point where you're like, you know what? I don't know, and someone else is going to have to tell me.
Yep.
That's the essence of humility. You have to get to a point where you really do not believe you have the answers.
No,
and like I don't know how to get people there. Obviously, people like me and you, we're donkeys, man. We are so hard-headed. We buck everything until finally we're so humiliated to where we're like, okay, you know what? I don't know. Someone's got to help me.
Well, my biggest comment is take my advice, because I'm not using it.
Right.
But I can give great advice, but I got to use it. So anyway, one of my miracle happened because he was a big AA guy, and he got me into AA. And not that I wasn't doing Celebrate Recovery and some Christian-based programs also, which I enjoyed. But it was my 4th step, and that's when I had to admit to him and to others. It was the first time that I opened up, and where I can feel comfortable about telling you about the molestation, about being raped, about going back to an abuser, just because I needed attention. I thought I needed the attention from an abuser. And that really was my opening door. It was my miracle. It's where my magic happens. Everybody has their magic.
Right.
I wasn't floating on no pink cloud like everybody hears at times. That was my magic. It was my turning point. And I got very involved with AA, with a lot of meetings. I did a lot of open speaking, a lot of open mics. I did a couple of radio shows down in Tampa and Palm Beach, and became very involved. I even, became a personal trainer at the gym. Started a program called 12 Steps with 12 Reps. Basically, these guys that were coming down from up north, they're just weak. Right. Some of them's never worked out. All they know is the needle or the bottle or the pill. They've never had a weight in their hand. So as long as they were in a program doing their step work, I would train them for free for 1 hour while they were in the gym. So I called it 12 Steps for 12 Reps.
That probably did more for you than it did for
Oh,
them.
yeah, of course. I'm a selfish person. I need the gratification. But it was something that I needed to be serious. I felt good about myself for the first time that I was helping somebody,
Yeah.
And a lot of people was turning me, like, nah, yeah, you're going to fail. No, I'm not going to fail. They're going to fail. I'm not going to fail what I'm going to do. I know what failure is. Failure is not trying, but I'm going to keep my bargain that I told myself. It was the first time that I did something right, you know, and then from there it just, here I am.
You know, the one thing I want to say about 12-step recovery, I don't talk about it much, but obviously it's probably had the largest impact on recovery in the world. But, you know, the beautiful thing about it is that those steps can be so wonderful for a person that knows why they can have a relationship with God through Christ.
Yeah.
That's the missing piece, I think, that if you don't know Christ and you try to do those steps, then I understand that they can help people discover things about themselves, but you always have that gnawing feeling, why can't I be forgiven, you know? Because even though I did these steps, I still fail all the time, you know, I still mess up, you know. That's the beautiful thing about, you know, knowing Christ.
And that's what I tell a lot of the youth, especially when I was at the halfway house. Here I am, 52 years old, I have sponsees and doing step work in a garage. I said, is this what you want with your life?
Right.
And they would like question me about God and Christ. I'm like, look, I'm not even going to get into this with you. We're doing step work. I said, but you have to understand, Christ was a real person. And you have to try and remember what he was trying to tell you.
Right.
Regardless how you believe or you don't believe, the guy still was trying to teach you how to live.
Mm-hmm.
So you can take it from there.
Right.
And that kind of led them back. You know, it's like, oh, now they become curious.
Right. I just had to say that because I don't like the Christian world bashing on that, but
Yeah.
I also don't like
I don't
that
like
world
it, yeah.
bashing on that. So I
Because
think there
if
needs to be some
If it
understanding.
works, please do it. You know, because I don't want anyone to go through what you and I have had to go through to get to this point right now in front of this mic, to be able to share our stories. And I know they're war stories,
Yeah.
but they're true stories.
Right. And we don't say them, just tell them to glorify.
No.
We tell them so people can understand that there is hope for people like you and I. Anybody watching, listening, you got two examples of hope. I mean, we were the worst people you'd probably ever meet in your life back in the day. My mom's even commented on it. She's like, yeah, you were terrible.
Yeah.
So,
and you know, and there's a lot of reasons why we start our abuse, and you know, mine started with my abuser, and there's a lot of people out there, and so if I have the strength, try and find it within yourself to have the strength.
Glen, man, I am so glad you came. Excuse me, folks, I've been sick, but so glad you came. So glad you took the time. I mean, he really literally just came up here, stayed a night just to be on the show. So, man, what commitment. You keep doing what you're doing, man. Keep sharing your hope with people, man. You are an example of exactly what this show is trying to promote, hope and help for hurting people. And you know what, man? I look forward to years of knowing you.
All right, thank you.
Come back next Thursday, folks. We'll be here again, 10:30.
And see, your story is very similar to Kurt Warner, because Kurt Warner, the football player, he dedicated himself to God. He grew up with a single mom and a chip on his shoulder.